Toby,
Yo.
got something I want to tell you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute?
About a 12-month minute.
Yeah. More than a minute.
Yeah, so I'll actually link 12 months ago, you and I sat here in this very room. I think we're in reverse, talking about startups and the landscape of the space or the ecosystem.
Yeah.
I'll link that in the below. But 12 months ago, you've always been known as Ronen Heine, but 12 months ago, commercially, you were known as #CorporateAdvice.
Yes.
And a week ago, 2 weeks
A
ago,
week ago, we rebranded. Took about a year from hey, we need a rebrand to actually getting it up.
Yeah.
But we rebranded and realigned ourselves. So external rebranding, but branding and logo is only one part of a brand. That's what people see. And there's the whole bit that people don't see. That's realigning the team on vision and who we are and what we stand for, which is all been part of it as well.
Yeah, so formerly #CorporateAdvice, currently
Luna
Luna.
Startup Studio.
The startup studio or just
Luna
startup studio? So talk to me about, obviously brands, very different name, very different call to action in terms of sort of like we're not going to the corporate advice website anymore, now we are Luna.co.
Yeah.
Has the mission changed? Or have you just created clarity around what was to now what is?
So it's a really good question. Someone actually asked me this morning. So the mission hasn't changed. The mission's been the same from day one. Help entrepreneurs launch and grow businesses. I guess our way of doing that and sort of taking steps towards the mission has changed a lot. The mission's the same. It always has been that from the start. How we do it is constantly changing because it's more based upon the needs of entrepreneurs and what services we can offer them rather than what we want to do.
Okay, so you've really, I guess, from the branding exercise, created more clarity around who you guys are from an identity perspective.
Yeah.
What else has changed?
So the old branding wasn't working for us. So we actually ran a rebranding exercise where we went out onto the streets, handed out our business cards, and asked people on the streets, with people who have no idea who we are, what they thought we do. And we work in startups. We're helping startups launch and grow their businesses. Dynamic, young, innovative people. And we're walking out on the streets, and people are reading a card that says #CorporateAdvice. They don't even see the hashtag. They look corporate advice. They think we're providing consulting services to corporates or some sort of corporate advisory, investment-y type of service. They were thinking, old grey-haired dudes in suits in a formal office. Here we are.
I was going to say, it couldn't be furthest from the grey hair in a formal office.
Exactly. So that was completely off. What we had to do in order to restart that or actually develop a new brand was do some self-reflection first. Because it's not just about creating something that looks good. So we first went on a process in trying to identify who we are. Whether that is we did some really cool exercises around, if we had to be a city or a type of drink or all that stuff.
Or another
planet or just describing the type of business you are in a person. So we did all that, and it was really great for the team because we really aligned on who we are and what we want to be, and that sort of set the strategy for the brand. And then from that, we've been able to do our own internal strategy in terms of what types of services we want to build, what types of new projects we want to take on, and because we had done that alignment piece on internally who we are, we could do those other things really well.
Very cool. So, we house a lot of startups. I'm personally, obviously, very deeply entrenched in the startup ecosystem. Every second, or maybe even every first startup that I speak to has either had some sort of engagement with you guys, had some engagement with you guys, is currently engaged with you guys. So you cover pretty much everyone in the ecosystem. Talk to me about, or talk to the audience about, sort of like the depth of service in the studio. I understand, like historically, it was sort of legal and accounting, some venture funding. What other services have been added? Or
Yeah.
have I missed?
So we started off by virtue of my background, predominantly legal and little bits of accounting.
Yeah.
So that's where we started off, and then we started to add on all these entrepreneurs that you speak of start to come to us and start to say, hey, doing a great job in legal, so who can help us out on accounting who's just like you? So then we started to bring accountants. And then we would work with them, you know, when they're just at the idea phase, and we start to realise that they're pretty good, and maybe the world's not seeing them yet, or they're having a hard time getting out of the job into this full time, but we can tell they're really good because we've worked with them for 3 to 6 months already. So how can we give them little bits of funding to get them moving a little bit quicker? You know, sometimes that's even moving to a failure. How can they get in and fail a couple of times quicker so that they can learn and, you know, get ahead? So that's where we started to connect with funding. It started off with connecting to angels and having an angel group. Now moving towards, you know, our own little venture offering. And then probably the newest thing to happen this year was we're doing some great work on legal, accounting, connections with capital. But we find ourselves in a unique position that we get lots of interactions with founders, and we want to help them develop their business. That's our mission, to launch and grow businesses, not just provide ad hoc services where we can. So we started to put together a founder education offering.
Great.
And that's what we've been running here out of Creative Cubes, kind of once a month. We firmly believe that there's no point educating a founder one-on-one, because even when you run an education program, you bring in an expert, that's amazing, but it's the connections to other founders in the room that really, really benefits them. So it's quite amazing. You run a session on maybe, you know, building a high-performing team with an absolute guru, someone who, you know, you couldn't get 2 hours with, and that's great, but it's the connections made between the founders that form those bonds and help them the most. So I'm running that.
Yeah, I love it. I spent the last 3 days in Melbourne Business School doing something very similar with Westpac as a corporate, trying to understand the ecosystem and all the rest of it. And I think that those sorts of sessions, I come away from that last 3 days with such clarity on the next step.
Yeah.
So that's really impactful for a founder or an entrepreneur, maybe potentially a solo entrepreneur that just wants to be around like-minded people. I think, you know, Creative Cubes can offer a certain platform, but then it's that deep dive with experts in your suite of team that helps a lot of people thrive. So they've been proving to be relatively successful.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, whenever you start a new project, you put something out there. You know, our first iteration of it was a concept called just-in-time education. You know, we were trying to look at ways that how could we provide education to founders just when they need it. Like, there's lots of info out there. There's lots of programs, accelerators, incubators, events. But because we were interacting with founders monthly, we could work out their pain points there and then. So we at the start tried to go with this concept of just in time, as in when we see a common need, let's throw education just in time for the need. You know, there's no point running an investment session if you're not looking for investment. But when you're 2 months away and you're looking for it, that's a great time to run it. So that was the idea. Putting it all together, time-wise, proved to be hard.
Well, it's no different to the startups that you're serving, right?
Exactly.
There's a way to throw yourself out there. In fact, I'm doing a year in review right now for the companies that I'm involved with, whether it's you know, Creative Cubes or WAG or whoever, just to sort of like reflect back on, hey, it felt like a shit show, but we actually achieved some really big things.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really, really important.
Yeah. So we've kind of done year one. We've run about 20 or so sessions. Most of them here at Cubes, some at other accelerators and universities and whatnot as well. And now we're kind of exactly going through that, evaluating what worked, what didn't work, where can we have more impact, where do we not have such great impact, and so we'll be rolling out a new program for next year.
So you guys have been established for a relative amount of time, but you're still going through that startup
Yeah.
working it out. You know, we're a startup that supports a bunch of startups as well. You know, very different.
Startup.
Yeah, so the startups that support the startups right here, that's really cool. What else is on the horizon in terms of, I mean, if there's stuff that's under wraps, keep it off limits, but...
No, so that's really for us, that's the main thing. It's like, how can we, so we've got two things. So some of our, we have been going for 3 years now, and totally underestimated how hard it is actually to get a business, your own business up and running. Which gave us great empathy, I think, for what our founders go through.
I think that's. I don't think we should just glance over that. That's a huge double click right there in terms of, you know, a lot of people engage people that really don't understand.
Yeah.
What you've got here in your suite and team offering is you guys have walked the path.
Yeah.
So you can actually execute not only from a intellect perspective or from a service offering perspective, but actually from an empathetic position as well.
Yeah.
Because you're currently doing it or have done it over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff, man. It really is, and I think that's sometimes overlooked.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I agree with you. That's where we get most of our learnings. We practice on ourselves,
Sure.
and then teach based upon a lot of failures as well, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, for
Very
sure,
cool.
for sure.
And 2019?
Oh, so 2019. Really, so it's doubling down on what we're doing now.
Okay.
So, new team members have joined late in the year, which means we've got more experts to support startups. So, because we've been around for 3 years, some of those startups we started with early on, got through year one, and they made it through year two, and now it's like, how do you keep up with them? So, we are kind of doubling down on what we're doing.
Great.
Support the startups we're currently working with even more.
Yep.
We're hell bent on trying to get more Aussie big hero success stories, and we think we've got a couple of them, so we just want to double down on that. So that's probably our first focus.
Yep.
And then it's really taking the stuff we did on the education and venture front and trying to open that up to more people in different shapes or forms. So online education component is something we're looking at.
Yep.
Should be a cool project. More in the finance, so more in the accounting, more in the legal.
Awesome. So new website, weareluna.co.
That's it.
I actually really enjoy watching your stories.
Yes.
Luna_startup.
Startups, yeah.
Startups. Because I see you around the ecosystem. I obviously see you here quite a bit. And the majority of your team here more often than you. But that's why you're out there hustling. But I really enjoy the stories because I see the interaction that you're having. I really like the personal touch that you guys have applied to your social as well. You make it very real, very candid. So I will link all of the connections, all of the handles in the description. I think it sits above. It sits below on YouTube. It sits above on my vlog. Ronen Heine, everyone. See you soon.